I did the statistics this morning for the precincts.
Great.
Yeah, I am. Feeling that I was thinking. Well,
the master's degree in databases.
That shouldn't be too much, awfully difficult.
And library science and he had more parties going on.
Oh, I know.
One of them clear over in LA. I had to take it.
Just, Hi, Celeste. You're following me all over, aren't you?
turned around and I got out my I'm sorry, I was looking for something for a while anyway.
Well, there he is, Robert.
Bob Whitmore the younger. I'm the third, so yeah. That's why his name's Matthew.
No more Bobs.
Matthew, stop.
Hey, listen,
Behave yourself.
you know, Ken
Too
Griffey
confusing.
Jr. goes by Ken Griffey Jr. He wants to know his junior, so
Oh yeah. It was just too confusing. See, when my grandfather, my dad's dad was living, and we were all younger. I also have a cousin on my dad's
That made it impossible for her to live.
But he was involved. I know he was on the park commission for Sandiness and a couple of things. We used to run into him different. I mean, he was a really nice guy, but I guess she couldn't tolerate his being so sloppy.
Well, she was probably the
you have all your hair yet. You haven't lost any of your hair yet.
No.
That's
You got
great.
some gray, but
Well,
my hair
listen,
color, it's
you
hard
can't
to
do
find.
much,
Yeah. Like my hair color, it's hard to find. Yeah, there's reasonable stuff. Yeah, me too. I had a goatee a fair amount of last year. Good reason.
Yeah. Never home. So.
retired 3 days a week.
Although they say, my cousin says to me, she says, they said Ruth was liberated before women were liberated.
He did fix the lights in the
Me.
ceiling. We have a very large
I just become a professional volunteer. I volunteer like your wife. I just, you know, I'm never home. I mean, every day I'm out doing something.
My wife works on stage.
To get south with my buddy who was the bouncer at the place.
Yeah, I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you again to take your seats? So that we can get started here. The cooks are going to burn down the place here pretty soon, from many of them this evening. And we're going to start off with an invocation from a Republican dignitary who, with his wife Mary, is a longtime host of this Unity Party on their front lawn. And I'd like to ask Dr. Reverend Waltberger to come forward for the invocation.
Rise. Almighty God, who has given us this great land for our heritage, we ask thy blessing on us, standing here before thee, as we renew our bonds of fellowship with each other, who have worked so hard through the years to promote sound constitutional government in our beloved country. We return thanks to thee, O Lord, for the course set for us by our founding fathers, and to which they mutually pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Give us strength to follow in their steps, and to restore our country to thee, and to the justice and freedom with which thou hast blessed us. Finally, we return thanks to thee, O Lord, for the bounty thou hast heaped upon us in this free land of ours. And especially, bless these gifts to our use, and us to thy service. We ask it in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. If you could remain standing, I'd like to ask Doug Boyd to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you join me in pledging your allegiance to the flag of the greatest nation in the history of the earth?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug. Please take a seat. We're going to get started with dinner in just a moment, but before we do, I want to recognize County Supervisor Mike Antonovich. He and his lovely wife Christine have graced us with their presence. And I understand Supervisor Antonovich wants to make some remarks, so we'll let him do that.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here, and to also recognize Robert for what a good job he has done. But we all know it's because of Marcella, but we won't let him know that tonight. But for Bob, we're going to have a special proclamation which we'll have prepared and presented to him for the great jobs to our party. This past month, we lost one of our great heroes, as you know, and this was an individual I had cut my political teeth on, and that was the passing of Barry Goldwater. And Barry Goldwater was a very unique individual because he was contrasted, let's say, in the history of mankind as kind of the John the Baptist, because through his hard work, Ronald Reagan followed. And not just Ronald Reagan, but he also impacted the world, because Margaret Thatcher as well followed. And that Thatcher-Reagan team did a lot. If you go back in history in 1963, when they had that conscience of a conservative, many people read it, made a lot of sense. Here you had an honest, forthright man who spoke the truth, and when he went to a government project, he would tell the people that the project was not for their benefit, but if it was a private-public partnership, it would help them. And while he voted against the '64 Civil Rights Act, he goes to South Carolina and tells them, as president, he will enforce the law because he was against bigotry. And as a commander, a general in the National Guard in Arizona, he integrated the military because at that time the military was segregated. As a city council member, he helped integrate Arizona. As a businessman, all people of all colors were treated equally. And as a result, the American Indian considered him a brother. And if you had the opportunity to see the funeral on C-SPAN, you had seen where the Native Americans did pay tribute to Senator Goldwater because he was a brother, he was one of them, and he did so much. And during the Vietnam conflict, over 300,000 telephone calls through his shortwave radio, he connected people in Vietnam with their families in the United States. Over 300,000. But I put this in perspective because here was a man with this type of an impeccable background running against Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was corrupt, who was a bigot, who gave us the great society which really made welfare a way of life, not a step up or a temporary means of helping you to have that step up to get back into the mainstream. And what he did with our foreign affairs, with what occurred in Southeast Asia and the weakening of the military and the disrespect for this country. But Barry Goldwater lost that election. Lyndon Baines Johnson's won. Barry Goldwater was going to be a footnote. Lyndon Baines Johnson was going to be the great society. Today, Barry Goldwater dies. Liberal, conservative, moderates say, this was a man of integrity. His ideas made sense. Through those ideas, Senator Moynihan today talks about reforming Social Security along the lines of Barry Goldwater. We have an IRA. We have a 401, we have a 457. Those are all concepts that Barry talked about. We have public-private partnerships. We know that we get greater efficiencies from the public sector when there are public-private partnerships. We had a peace through strength, a strong military, and as a result, America was strong. These were the ideas that Barry Goldwater talked about. So when Barry Goldwater dies, he's recognized as the great American, the great patriot who had common sense ideas and the man we want to follow. Lyndon Baines Johnson, considered a demagogue, a crook, and gosh, how did he ever become president? But I know in this room right here, in this outside patio,
Part of that 27 million are here. And in our hearts, we knew we were right, but it took a few years to show the rest of the world. And had it not been for Barry Goldwater, we would not have had a Ronald Reagan. And had we not had a Ronald Reagan, we would not be where we are today. So what I'm trying to say is, this election year is a very short time frame, but it's important that we have a very aggressive registration program, because the governor in California in 1998's election, who is elected, is going to set the roadmap for the next decade for every state and federal seat because of reapportionment. California has the largest congressional delegation of any state in the union. We only are a majority in Washington by 11 seats. If the Democrats are successful, Gray Davis, you're going to have that change of reapportionment, those lines, so that even though we may be majorities in certain areas, we're going to be made a minority, and we will be a minority party for the next 10 years. It's not the party that we have to worry about, it's our ideas. And we know our ideas of families, of values, of character, of public-private partnerships, of smaller government, are going to be championed by those men and women who are the Republicans, who follow the philosophy of Abraham Lincoln and the Barry Goldwaters and the Ronald Reagans. It won't be with the Gray Davises, the legacy of the Jerry Browns, the Rose Birds, the Bill Clintons. It's very important. We have a great team, but they will only be successful if we are out getting those people registered. I'll work with you. I'll devote Saturdays. We'll do some precinct working and registration, and then come back and have a barbecue. But we need to get all of our communities involved, young and old. And if a child is too young to vote, he's not too young to walk a precinct and to hand out information. We did it before we could vote. We can do it again. And that was what was great in that 1964 campaign. We were walking those precincts every Saturday. And we need to do that again. So Bob has returned to the state legislature. David has returned to the congressional seat, but we can also return Dan Lundgren to Sacramento, moving his home from where he is now to the governor's. Although in California you rent a house for the governor. And Dave Sterling is so important. Dave Sterling's elected Attorney General, because it's critical that you have a person who can support those common sense ideas in the courtroom, instead of having Bill Lockyer, who from the ACLU wing of the party is not going to help this country. And write down that ticket is so important. But we have to be prepared, because we just seen what happened in San Fernando Valley. The Democrats turned on each other in the most racist, blatant, dirtiest campaign that we've ever seen since the day that the little girl was blown up with the mushroom cloud from LBJ against Barry Goldwater. And it was interesting to watch the two fight each other. They were using napalm on each other, but those were the type of hit pieces they used against Republicans, against Paul Benai, who was the first Japanese-American Republican who served in the state legislature. They tarred and feathered that poor man with, guess who their man of integrity was? Dick Floyd. Probably the most slimiest one in Sacramento.
Oh, amen.
Amen. So anyway, we have to be strong, so we're registered, we know why we're voting, and when those hit pieces come, we know their lies and distortions, and our people will turn out and vote. One vote does make a difference. Northern California, one seat was determined by 5 votes. 5 votes. In the Katz Alacron race, 94,000 votes, 31 difference. 31. So your vote does count. But if we're strong in the San Gabriel Valley, LA County will be strong, and Dan Lundgren and the rest of the ticket will be able to be successful. So we look forward to working with you. And as we say, the clock is always running in politics. So let's beat that clock. And in November we'll have the party, but let's register these people between now and November, and I'll work with you. And God bless you.
Thank you very much. And a good message, and one you'll hear a lot of tonight, is get out and register those new voters, and get out in November and get them to the polls. I'd like to now recognize Celeste Grieg, the Vice Chairman, Southern Region of the California State Republican Party, who has a presentation to make to our guest of honor.
It's tough
to follow tall people. This morning we had our third Hispanic Summit in Orange County, and I have to tell you, it was very successful. One of the goals that our state party chairman, Mike Schroeder, had when he got elected was to bring more of the Hispanic and the Asian and the African, I shouldn't say African American, we're not hyphenated, everyone into the Republican Party. And we had a third summit today, and it was very successful. We heard from Matt Fung, who gave an extremely eloquent and passionate speech, and Dave Sterling and Bob Dornan, just about everybody was there. And Tom Fuentes told me to give you his greetings, and he wishes you the best. Mike Schroeder couldn't be here today because being Father's Day tomorrow, he is in Chicago being with his daughter, but he also sent his best to you, Bob. And we all know that next to a successful man is always a successful and dear woman. Bob has been blessed, the Lord bless him by having Marcella next to him. I think she is a wonderful lady who has been instrumental for Bob being the sweet and lovable guy that we all know. So Bob, on behalf of the California Republican Party, I'm proud to present to you this, and it says, Bob Whitmore, in recognition and appreciation for your years of dedication and support to the California Republican Party, Michael J. Schroeder, Chairman, June 20, 1998. God bless you, Bob.
You're going to get a chance to talk. Your speech is not in order yet, Mr. Parliamentarian. Now we're going to start with dinner. That's it. Feel free to applaud that. Cooks will be happy to hear that you're applauding dinner before you even eat. I'd like to have the head table start so that we can get them fed quickly. We'll start right where that young man is standing. Go form the line there and start picking up your utensils and your food, and we'll be back as soon as you've had dinner.
Very good.
From the State Republican Party, and we've heard from County Supervisor Mike Antonovich. And we're going to hear from a lot more people tonight, but before we do that, I'm going to invite Marcella to come up because there's a family table over here too, and I'd like to have Marcella introduce all her relatives.
Not all of them, just the immediate. Our daughter Susan and her husband Peter over here, they're going to stand up. They're here from El Cajon, and our son Robert and his wife Adrienne, their son, our grandson Matthew and granddaughter Emily, and they're sitting with our son's history teacher from high school, Mr. Fred Peritore, and I don't think he'll mind if I tell you that I registered him years ago as a declined to state, and he is now an ardent Republican. So, but anyway, we are delighted to have our family here. Thank you.
You're going to get to applaud to a lot tonight, so keep it up.
Keep this warm.
That's right. For those of you who are getting cold, applauding keeps at least your hands warm. To start the program, as you all know by now, we're here to honor Bob Whitmore for his long and distinguished service to the Republican Party, particularly the Republican Party in Los Angeles County, where his service has been very helpful to many Republicans, and where Bob has stood up for principle time and again. And we really appreciate that over the long haul. Those of us who are coming up have someone to emulate, and we really appreciate that as well. And to start with the presentations, of which there will be several, we're going to recognize State Senator Dick Mountjoy, who's deep in conversation over here and totally surprised that I've called on him at this point in the proceedings. But I'm going to recognize him.
Why don't you let my dad go first?
Thanks, you're a real pal, you know.
Senator Dick Mountjoy.
Well, where do we go from here?
I think you both have to do it together.
We do?
Yeah, you're both your names.
What are we going to do?
Make your speech and then we can get up there.
Well, I got an hour-long speech, and I'll be doggone it. As long as I've got you all captive, I might as well go with it, huh? No, just let me say it's great to be here. And as you know, we just came off of a statewide campaign. It was a great opportunity, and thanks to an awful lot of people here that supported us in that campaign. I thought we did very well, given the fact that we spent less than $200,000 statewide and came within 9% of winning the thing, in light of the fact the other two candidates, one spent over $2 million, one spent over $3 million. And a lot of folks up north were very surprised at the grassroots, and this is a real interesting thing. They were surprised that the grassroots were as strong as they were, because that's what really supported me. From the up in Redding to the San Diego border. The really surprise of a lot of folks was that I swept every county in the Bay Area. I won every one of them. I told the Lincoln Club yesterday paid to be a cross-dresser, of course. But you know, let me just tell you where we're at in Republican politics. But there's a hunger for leadership out there. You know, we talked about God and country and the importance of getting back to high morality and the importance of changing the way America is and how America has deteriorated over a given time. And it was resonating very well out amongst the precincts. We were drawing people, crowds of up to 200 up in the Bay Area. At one point in time over in Marin County, we had 2,000 people at a meeting in Marin County, conservatives. And so we were doing very well. And if for no other reason, to be able to go across the state and spark some enthusiasm in a lot of Republicans all over this state, everything was well worth it. It was very much well worth it. We spoke over 200 times during that period in this state, and so we thought it was very successful in that regard. I am very supportive of Tim Leslie. I called Tim the morning before the election. It was on Tuesday morning before the election. He was flying down to be at the county meeting that night to see who would win. And I told Tim when I called him, I said, "Tim, you owe me $20." And he said, "I owe you $20." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I had to have an extra trash pickup just to get rid of the slate cards." They were piling up in my front room. But he's a great guy. And I'll be out raising money. We'll be doing a fundraiser for Tim, and we're out. I told Tim that I would go anywhere in the state that he chose me to go, and I'll be speaking for him because we do need to make a Republican sweep in the next election. We need all of these people in office. Let me tell you, it is going to be one of the most important races, the important campaigns that we can have. And we need Dan Lundgren, we need Tim, we need all of the guys on the Republican, Matt Fong, because we're going to gain a couple of congressional districts in this state. And let me tell you, when you do, that means that California is going to name the swing of the Congress. And if you don't think that Bill Clinton and the Democrats are going to be out here with a ton of money, well, think again. And that's why we've got to get behind every Republican candidate in this state, whether we appreciate them or whether we don't, whether we're enthusiastic about them or whether we're not. We need to get behind our Republican candidates and make sure that they are in the office with a wide margin, because this is a key election. The year 2001 will bring reapportionment to this state, and that's going to name who the legislators are going to be. And if we don't control at least one house or the governor's seat, we're going to be out of the game as Republicans. And so we need to do it for the future of this country, the future of our kids, the future of everything depends on the fact that we can turn out the vote here in California and make sure that the leadership of the government and the government is in the hands of Republicans. But that's one of the reasons we're here tonight, because this is a unity thing. But in the 59th district, we're always unified. Especially when you can run without any opposition. But now he's got opposition. What's the clown's name that's running? Well, he's out of Covina somewhere. We try not to remember their names. But we need to really turn out the vote in November and make sure Bob is swept back in, and David and all of them are swept back in. But we want to pay tribute tonight to I'll put my glasses on for this. Well, I do have them. We want to pay tribute tonight. We should be paying tribute to a couple, but we've paid so many tributes to Marcella. You can just sit still tonight, Marcella. She has 4 walls in 1 bedroom, nothing but plaques. I don't know how many Bob's got, but he ought to have a whole lot more than he's got. And tonight, we want to make a presentation to Bob Whitmore, and this is to Bob Whitmore, our Republican of the century, and that's really true. Bob has been there. Bob has fought the battles. Bob has been through the wars and always come back to support the Republicans every time, and he's been there. He and Marcella, I can't remember Republican politics without the Whitmores. And this is in recognition of your dedicated and untiring service to the Republican Party and its campaigns. And on behalf of the GOP volunteers everywhere, Assemblyman Bob Margett and Senator Dick Mountjoy take great pleasure in presenting this award on June 20th, 1998. And that's from our hearts, and that's, Bob, is from the hearts of all of us and all of the volunteers out there.
So you can get the camera. Put Bob in the middle of you.
Bob in the middle. You're going to get the middle. Rose between 2 thorns.
We put the squeeze on you. Get your hand out of his pocket. Okay.
There you go.
God, enough's enough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Congratulations. Yeah. Double thanks for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Erlene asked why it was that the senator knew what Marcella's bedroom walls look like.
Well, I was corrected. She said it's the family room.
It's the family room. Yeah, that's it. It's the family room. Really.
Good recovery, Marcella.
And now I'd like to introduce our own Assemblyman Bob Margett.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come back to the 59th District among friends and be able to talk to you and break bread and dialogue and come back from an area that's really swung to the left, in my opinion. That's in Sacramento. You know, one of the things that Dick mentioned just earlier, his campaign, and he did a wonderful job up and down the state. But I have to share one thing with you. In the Contra Costa Times, they listed all of the candidates for the state of California. And they listed the picture and the age and a little bit about the particular candidate. And they told everything about Dick Mountjoy, but they put my picture in. And that's why I told Dick, I know you're going to do big time in Contra Costa County, that's for sure. And we almost won in Contra Costa County. But I have that. I need to give you a copy of that, Dick. That's really classic. One of the things that...
Can I tell them the truth?
What's that?
They couldn't find a bad picture of me, so they had to
One of the things that I enjoy doing when I'm coming back from Sacramento after a weeks of legislation committee meetings, listen to lobbyists, and is sometimes just collect my thoughts. And many times it's usually with a book. I'll get a book and read that book, and it gives me about an hour and 10 minutes up and back that I can get into a good novel or a good history book and really enjoy it. One of the recent books that I read was a story of Father Unipricera, who of course founded all the missions up and down the state of California. And he was immensely proud of the fact that he was able to do this, and he was commissioned, of course, by the King of Spain and the Catholic Church to be able to run these missions up and down the state of California, and did a truly wonderful job as he built these little entities, really communities. They were they had their church, they had their farmlands, they had centers of trade. They were very, very wonderful. And as soon as he finished one, he went another distance. Of course, you know the story. He built another one, and on up and down the state of California. And of course, as he was building these, the need for more managers and more people became very, very apparent. And he made his request back to the King of Spain at that time. He said, I need some men. And he loved the San Gabriel Mountains, and he loved the Sierra Mountains, and he thought they were absolutely awesome because you couldn't get across them as easy as you can today, of course. And what he said to the King of Spain, he says, will you send me some men to match my mountains? And of course, if there was women there, I'm sure he would have said, send me men and women to match my mountains. But you know, that's what we need in Sacramento today. We need the Dick Mountjoys. We need the Dan Lundgrens. We need the Tim Leslies. We need these men who can really match the mountains of problems and issues that are facing the state of California. And we have them in budgets. We have them in broad-based public issues. We have them certainly in morality up and down the state. Every time, I'll bet you that every week we are confronted with those types of issues, you know, and you would think that all of a sudden that you are not on the side of the angels. Pretty soon you think as this liberal type thinking and thought are prevailing upon the members in Sacramento, that you think that maybe you're wrong, maybe you better reassess what you're doing. And that's a continual bombardment. So it's always great to be able to come back to these type of events, realize that the people that you're representing are truly of your spirit, and you're merely an extension of thought of the people in the 59th District, and I tell you, it's a very, very wholesome feeling. So I have to say that I feel that Bob Whitmore is one of these people who could have been talked about way back when, send me men to match my mountains. Here's a man who is of great faith. Here's a man who has certainly given everything to the Republican Party. He's a principled man, and I think a man of great sense of humor, great dedication. And this evening, Bob, I want to say happy birthday, and again, congratulations from me for all the great work that you've done for the Republican Party and the great husband that you've been for Marcella. Thank you so much.
In addition to sending along the Opportunity Prize, he has sent this certificate that I know comes from his heart as well. And I will just briefly read it. It says, Congress of the United States in special recognition of Robert S. Whitmore, Jr. for his untold years of dedicated service to the Republican Party, dated this 20th day of June, 1998, signed David Dyer. Eventually, we'll teach Bob how to do this. Now we have a group presentation from a lot of members of very active Republicans. Keith McCarthy, Kathy Howard, Rusty Fedderson, Steve Piper, and Paulie Benson Brown. As a group, come on up. You know most of these people. Keith McCarthy is immediate past chairman of the LA County Republican Party. Polly Benson Brown is the current treasurer. And these other libertarians are local. You know them better than I do, probably.
Also ask Lynn Davidson.
Oh, and Lynn Davidson also is part of this group.
Who's going to start?
Somebody has to start.
I'll start.
Oh, gee.
What politician doesn't jump to the forefront? We would love to have all kinds of amusing stories to tell you about Bob, but with Bob it's usually hard work. Many of us spent many months with him reworking the bylaws for the Los Angeles County Republican Party. After 11 years not having been reworked, it took us, I think, 9 months or 10 months, Bob, meeting almost every week to do it. And finally, after 11 years, with Bob's help and his parliamentary authority and his parliamentary knowledge, we were able, with Keith and all of us standing here, to be able to revise the bylaws. The bylaws meetings sometimes were fun if you like bylaws, and I do. And sometimes some real hard-nosed things were going on. But always good things go on when Bob Whitmore is involved, because he is a man of principle, and he is a man that makes sure that when things get done, they get done right. And it's always good to deal with a man like Bob, because he's very upfront. You never have to wonder where Bob stands. And I think that's why I get along well with him, is because you don't ever have to worry where you stand with me.
That's Marcella.
And that's the best way to be. And to be the Republican that Bob has been, the dedication that he's given to this party, it's been a pleasure to be working with him, and I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, as some of you may know, have been for the last couple of terms. I'm the County Resolutions Chairman for the Republican Party in LA County, and also I'm an AD chair and a senatorial district chair and all sorts of things. But the truth is, not so very long ago, my wife and I, who is also a member of the executive committee, as I am, and we've been very active for more than a decade now in the county party. The truth is that we were so disgusted by some of the things that were going on in the party that we were ready to leave and say there were more important things for us to do. But all I can say is Bob Whitmore is the one who talked us into staying. Now Bob's leaving, and he can expect phone calls from me, just as long as I don't interrupt Jeopardy. That I know better than to do. And I don't know. There's so many things I could say about Bob that I just, before I get tear choked, I'll just, sign off by saying we're going to miss him a heck of a lot.
I'll be real brief. It's always been really comforting having Bob around. You always knew that everything would work out as long as he was there. Thanks a lot, Bob.
Bob, I want to thank you for lots of memories. Most of you know Bob was our county chairman for 2 terms, and it was my great honor and pleasure to nominate him for that position. And I've never forgotten that you had asked me to do that, Bob. That was really great. We worked together many, many times on lots of things, but every time I go past Denny's restaurant, it's kind of an inside joke with the people who are up here, but we had many meetings at Denny's restaurant, and I always think of those meetings at that time. And I think Kathy forgot to give you something. That was our gavel at Denny's. Because of some of those meetings and the outcome of it, most of us up here, plus a few others, were co-defendants in a lawsuit that actually is still pending, and that's about 8 years ago or 6 years ago, something like that. But thank you, Bob, for all your years of service, for your parliamentary abilities, your other abilities, your sage advice. We disagreed at times, but you knew where I stand, and I knew where you stood. And it was just great to be able to work with you. Thanks for the memories.
Earlier this afternoon, I was talking with a fellow member of the committee from my assembly district, which is the 41st out on the other end of the county. And Nancy Sparrow said how sorry she was that she could not be here tonight to help honor and celebrate with Bob. And she said, I want you to tell Bob Whitmore that he is my hero. When I get angry at the Republican Party, as often many of us do, she said, I think about Bob and what he has done for all of us, and he is my hero, and you tell him that. So I am telling you that, and I am certainly seconding Nancy's motion. You're my hero too, Bob. You have led us through good times and bad. You have kept us on the straight and narrow, and you have always had the time to taken the time, because you're busier than most of us, but found the time to give advice and counsel to anyone in the party who has needed it. And sometimes you've given us a little advice and counsel when perhaps we didn't think we needed it. But certainly you have always been there as our guide, as our mentor, as our leader, as our friend. It has been wonderful serving in the party with you, Bob, and we will sure miss you.
Well, it certainly is a pleasant night, and it's wonderful to join people that have come from parts outside the San Gabriel Valley. There is life outside the San Gabriel Valley. And I don't know which smells better tonight, the magnolia or the barbecue beef. But to Bob and Marcella Whitmore, again, it's a treasure to be with you here tonight, as well as working with you over the past few years. To our distinguished guests and to your husbands, again, it's a great night to get together. For those of us who've worked with Bob and know Bob well, beneath that gruff, cantankerous exterior, there's a heart that is, well, gruff and cantankerous. But in fact, actually, it's quite deep and strong, and has been a great inspiration and support to all of us. And we will certainly miss Bob. In my experience in participating in the party, I have him, I'm not sure whether to blame or to credit for my experience, but Bob's been like a mentor, not like, but has been a mentor and a friend. I remember, it was 85 or 86, I think it was in the Rathskeller where we met, that we had to pick the county precinct chairman, and I was counting on actually Rusty serving. And everybody else took one step back, and in my naivete, I was standing there. And a few years after that, ended up on the board, and a few years after that, ended up as chairman. So we got together, Bob and Marcella. We have a gift to present to you, and if you would come meet me here, I have a card. I'm not sure what it is. Bob and Marcella, we love you.
Hold it up for the camera.
Hold it up for the camera, Doug wants you to hold it up for the camera.
There's one problem, though. His trunk is not down and not up.
So your job's not over yet.
Work on it, Bob, work on it.
One elephant.
I thank you all.
Very well.
Because I used to work there on behalf of the staff.
Where?
Just the party.
Oh. And so I go up there. Oh, okay.
Next, I'm going to recognize Steve Johnson, who is similarly unprepared and surprised, but he's going to, nonetheless, he is going to speak about his experience working with Bob.
Poor Bob.
You know, I used to be in the grocery business quite a few years ago, and I broke my arm real bad, and I went to work at the Republican Party, and Bob Whitmore was the chairman, and boy did he run a tight ship. And if we ever wanted to know where Bob stood, I remember they talked about that a little bit, we always used to call Marcella up and ask where Bob stood on a subject. But the only thing I can say, I've known them since when I was young and involved in the Republican Party since 1970.
16.
I was young, right? I was a whippersnapper, as they used to call, you know. It's still, seems like just yesterday you called me a whippersnapper, Bob. So anyway, I just looking back in the last week, the County Central Committee did some things that a lot of us were unhappy with, but they did want, the only thing I can say that Carl Davis ever gave us good is 6 more months with you.
Should we all send him a thank you note?
Yeah.
Now we're going to have some recognition from Bob's own family. We're going to call on his son, Bob Whitmore III.
Now it's going to come out.
I bring you greetings from the capital of the Republican Party in the Inland Empire, Chino Hills, where we will be sending up Eunice Ulloa very shortly to keep you company in the state senate. Anyway, we sure appreciate the invitation this evening to be with my dad tonight on his birthday. I'm trying to bring this thing down. I always listen to my mother, as do the rest of you. And before I get into the more serious stuff, I do bring greetings from some well-known people for my dad on this occasion.
Well, Bob, here I go again. Marcella, great to see you too. Happy birthday, Bob. Now here's a good friend of mine.
Bob, Marcella, good to see you. How you doing? Hope you're having that great birthday. Not gonna mention the age, wouldn't be prudent at this juncture. And the last, I know certainly my former history teacher's favorite.
Well, Bob and Marcella, it's great to see you tonight. I hope you're having a wonderful and happy birthday. You know, if I had a wife like Marcella, I wouldn't have got any interns.
Send this tape to the White House.
Thank God that went over. I have a fine, time-honored name, as does my father and his father before him. My father is many, many things to me. Some of the words have been used already tonight. He is my mentor. He is my friend, my advisor, and my hero. For many, many years, I've admired the way he does everything he does, and I know I've inherited at least some of his finest traits. I have a whole lot of wonderful memories from years past, and I'd just like to share a few of them here with you tonight. My dad, as well as my mother, certainly has been a huge influence on my political views that I hold today. And going back to, I recall helping you pass out campaign flyers when you ran for school board in 1962. You should have won. I remember my dad teaching me how to ride a two-wheel bike, getting the training wheels off out on Santa Maria Road out in front of the house. Taught me how to catch and throw a baseball out in our backyard, and he came to nearly all my Little League games, cheered me on, even though I frankly wasn't very good. And that's part of the reason that I've coached and managed my own son, Matthew, over the last several years in Little League, which frankly has been a joy because he's a lot better player than I ever was. But two very special things come to mind. The first were the weekend camping trips that we used to take every year up to Crystal Lake to go fishing, where you wouldn't probably want to be caught dead now, but we never caught anything, but we always had a lot of fun up there. And the other thing, I think I've only brought it up once, how much this meant to me, but many Christmases ago, we were all done opening our Christmas presents, and my dad brought out a small box to me. Had a note, I read it, and inside the box was a watch. Not just any watch, it was his grandfather's watch. And reading the note with it and realizing the importance and the trust that that gift carried and meant was incredible to me then as it is today. I still have it, obviously. I keep it hidden away because it's so special. But one day when my son Matthew is old enough, I'll pass that same watch on to him and know it will have the same meaning to him as it does to me. As you all know, my dad is very organized in everything he does and always seems like comes up with a perfect solution to whatever it is he does. For years I thought he wrote Robert's Rules of Order. I'm not kidding. I try to do that too, sometimes to the point where I drive my wife a little crazy. But we have a lot of other things in common. We both like sports. We're both Trekkies. We love the old Star Trek show. And anytime there's a James Bond movie on, I know Dad's watching it too, because I am as well. And one other thing too. Recently, my son Matthew said something, I don't recall what it was, but he said something to me that just struck me as really weird and off the wall and funny, as he is wont to do. He's got a great sense of humor. And Susan, I know you'll appreciate this. The minute he said it, I did this. And said, God. Said to my wife and kids, that was straight from my dad. I didn't realize until just now I did that. So I am my father's son. And Dad, happy birthday to you. I love you very much, and I'm very proud to be your son.
Before we continue with the family accolades, I do want to recognize Mary Tobin, who is the vice chairman of the Republican Party of Los Angeles County. She has a presentation to make to Bob on behalf of the county party. Mary?
Thank you, David, and good evening. I have here a certificate from the Republican Party of Los Angeles County, and I'll just read one sentence. It says, in recognition of dedicated service to the Republican Party. Now that's an understatement. Dedicated service, public service. Talk about public service. Lots of people are really terrific public servants and get paid.
That's right.
But some people don't even get paid. And I think in this business of being county chairman and everything you've done, you've probably gone in the hole. That's by definition the public service. So the hours you've spent as county chairman, people have talked about all you've done. I don't want to keep everybody here till midnight going over, but you've done so much. And I know when I saw you up there the first time, I thought, boy, this guy really knows a lot. I could stand to learn a lot from this guy. So I sometimes after meetings say, Bob, can you tell me a little bit more about this Roberts rule? And he very generously always did tell me a few things. But I really like him because he's a great family man, because it wasn't too long after I'd ask him a few questions. He said, Marcella, I got to get home to Marcella. So he loves you dearly, and you know, whenever he's there, I know he misses seeing you. So thank you to both of you.
Now we're going to hear from the previously introduced and by now infamous history teacher, Fred Peritore.
Talk about surprises. When I moved to Arcadia in 1968, Marcella had it right. I knew I was moving in a conservative community, so the first thing I did was change my registration from Democrat to decline to state, because I said, I'm going to be a saboteur here, and I better know. And so I did that. But one of the first people I heard of when I came to Arcadia were the Whitmores. They were so involved in the Republican Party, and I said, you know, I wonder how these people could be so dedicated to a party like that. Well, I just was fresh out of college. What more did I know? I knew very, very little what was going on. I was the same guy that Mr. Antonovich was saying who voted for Lyndon Johnson. Anyway, I had an opportunity to meet Mrs. Whitmore when I had the temerity to say that the Republicans were close to the John Birch Society and the extremists and so on. She called up and she gave me literal hell on the telephone, fried my ears. And when I got home, explained to my wife what she had done. She said, good, she should have done it some more. Because my wife is a staunch Republican too, and she couldn't understand why I was such an idiotic individual about the whole thing. But I wondered why the Whitmores were so enthusiastic about the party. And of course now that I am an ardent and passionate Republican, I can understand why they were so right and I was so wrong. I would love in the future years down the road, 5, 10, 15 years from now, God willing, to be able to do for the Republican Party what the Whitmores have done. I know as an ex-Democrat who learned the hard way that this is the party that really represents the people. We are the party of the people. We're the one for low taxes. We're the ones for ending the welfare fiasco. We're the ones who want to return local control to the people because we have confidence in the people. The people can do the job, not the elitists who think they know what's going on and have no idea what goes on in the grassroots. So in conclusion, what I'd like to say is that I hope in the future I will be able to be a model working for the Republican Party as the Whitmores have done, because I am very proud of what they've done, and I realize what a great, great job they have done for our great party. So thank you very, very much.
He's just been signed up as precinct chairman. He missed that meeting, so we appointed him. Now, another presentation that we have such a stack of stuff for this great guy. As you came in, many of you contributed to this book that I'm about to give to Bob with your thoughts and your congratulations and your notes. And we have this very full scrapbook of notes from practically everybody who is here, and I'm not going to read them all because you all know what you said. Thank you for that. But I'm going to give this to Bob so that you and Marcella can enjoy this as a memento of this night. And can I have the current members, please, and the newly elected members of the 59th Assembly District Central Committee stand up wherever you are so that I can make this presentation. I can make this presentation from us on behalf of the 59th Assembly District Republican Central Committee. All these people have done a lot of hard work for this dinner to come together tonight, and we want to make this presentation to Bob, and I'm honored to be their spokesman to do that. Bob, congratulations. Trunk is up. Yeah, you're sensing a theme here, I hope. You're not in order yet, Mr. Parliamentarian. First, I'm going to recognize, we are at the end of all of the non-family recognitions, but the evening would not be complete without allowing Marcella to speak her piece.
Well, I have to agree with everything that's been said about him, but I have to tell you that in 1961, he followed, after 6 months of the start of Arcadia Republicans, Inc., Bob began one of his 6 terms as president of that organization that has been in existence since that time as a year-round headquarters, and he is one of those who helped make it so. At that time, he said, well, my wife is the politician, but that wasn't true, because he later did far more than I could ever dream, and he became, and with Keith's permission, I will say that my husband was the best county chairman ever. Yes, I'm allowed that because he's mine. And for 53 years, a little over 53 years, we have worked together, and I have watched him, and I have seen how he has guided and helped others. I have seen him on the phone with Polly. I have seen him on the phone with I don't know how many people asking him questions about the bylaws and the rules of the county, and he has always been a man of integrity, and it is disappointing when those who are supposedly in leadership do not live up to the same integrity and follow the rules. But I am always proud of what my husband does in that regard, and it makes him 10 times bigger in my eyes, and we are proud of him. I am proud to be a teammate with him. I'm proud that he is my husband, and he has been my love for 53 years. Thank you.
Now for the man of the moment. After all that's been said, all the good things that have been said about Bob Whitmore, there's only one thing left to say before he speaks. Ladies and gentlemen, the guest of honor, Bob Whitmore.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have been involved in politics for a long time, but I wouldn't have been involved in it if it hadn't been for Marcella. And that's true. She talked about when I ran for the school board and didn't win. I don't know, sometimes I thought that was a blessing that I didn't win. In retrospect, I don't know, because a lot of bad things have happened to the school system. But on the other hand, in Arcadia, our schools have survived, and they're excellent schools, so I guess they did all right without me on that. But some of you have talked about what I've done over the years. I have always thought that when you take from the system, you have to give back to the system. And it's been, I don't know what else you could call it except a labor of love. Somebody said it costs. Yes, it does. But those are small things. The whole point of the thing is that we're all members of the Republican Party. We work for what we believe in. We think that government should be less and not more. We think that individuals should be able to govern themselves better than Uncle Sam tells them what to do. Mr. Peritore said it very well, and I appreciate that. But I appreciate all that all of you have said tonight. I don't deserve it, because all of you could have done the same. But most of all, I've had the backing of my family. I've had the backing of many people here, and I appreciate that. It isn't a single individual who can make things happen. It's many people working together. And if we hadn't all worked together in this district, a lot of things wouldn't have happened here. We wouldn't have had our able legislators, and I applaud them for the job that they do. And we need them in Sacramento, and we need more like them. We need more people in Washington, D.C. So when somebody asks you to walk a precinct, don't say, well, I've got something else to do. Just say, yes, I'll do it. Because walking a precinct to elect the people that you want to represent you is the way you get them elected. You don't get them elected by watching somebody on television make a speech. You get them elected by walking around the block, and knocking on doors, and say, vote for my guy. And that's the way you do it. But as I look around here, I don't have to tell any of you people to do it, because you do it anyway. But then it's your job to go out and get somebody to do the same thing. And that's not as easy to do. But when you do it, you have a feeling that you have done a good job and that you've helped your country, and that is the main thing that we're all about. Again, I thank you all very much, and this is an evening I'll remember forever.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to do this, to recognize Bob's great service to this party. And I'm very glad each and every one of you came tonight. And for all of you who spoke, I very much appreciate your warm and heartfelt words. And I want to also extend, I've already recognized the other members of the Central Committee and those who have done the work to make this dinner go off, except I haven't recognized the cooks yet, who did a great job with the tri-tip. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. We're going to move on to the opportunity drawing now. So if I can get those tickets, we'll get started. The other part of the opportunity drawing is that the centerpieces are also available. For $1 in the envelope, pick out a number, and we will call out a number at the end of the opportunity drawing to take home these beautiful plants that have been our centerpiece.
Yeah.
Got it. We need a couple of minutes so Peggy can fix the drawing, so if you can bear with us.
Gee, thanks for telling me that, David. I'm going to win everything now. I'm finding mine. Okay. What a number? What number? How about 207? That sounds like a good number.
I've got mixed emotions.
Yes.
I won one last year.
Oh.
And it's gone wild over there. It's lighter lavender.
So now what kind of Probably different.
Well, you know.
Marcella.
Really?
Well, I told you Peggy was fixing the drawing, okay?
Parties at Mother and Dad's house.
All right, now this is a bottle of genuine Kentucky bourbon, Maker's Mark whiskey. 6521. Is that your? Oh, no. It's at 652177. 652177.
Right here. I don't know where my wife is.
A teetotaler on this? Is that what you're telling me?
Hi, Doug, girl.
No. Doug's right behind us.
Oh, Betty is? Yeah, that's Betty. I didn't see you before.
Courtesy of Bob Margett, this is A day at the races at the clubhouse at Santa Anita Park.
Ooh. You want that?
Don't see anybody. 652-214.
Right here, David.
652-214. I don't know, is it for two, Bob?
Yeah. That's $1.
Lunch for two in the clubhouse.
Okay, Kathy.
All right, you're in.
$50 goal.
Okay, now, courtesy of Peggy New. Courtesy of Dick Mountjoy, excuse me. Pat Buchanan's new book, Autographed, The Great Betrayal. 652-147. 652-147.
I bought mine too early.
Shake them up, Peggy.
And mine's probably down the bottom.
147. Thank you, Eileen.
Okay.
Now, this is a U.S. flag with a certificate to have Congressman David Dare fly it over the Capitol personally for you. Have it flown over personally for you. He won't be running up the flagpole. Didn't I draw this one already? No. 652-117. 652-117.
You did draw that.
Right here.
Here gets
All right.
flag.
Yeah.
And this is an autographed copy of Bruce Richardson's most recent book, Lost Trumpets, also courtesy of Senator Mountjoy. 652-322. That's the library table.
This is the one we wanted. Okay.
Very good. Okay, now for the plans.
Oh.
The tall plant is going to the tall one. There's a tall one and a short one. Okay. Well, then you got to draw another. 652-194. 652-194.
That's gotta be you. The big
You
plant.
get the tall one. There's two out there on the cement. They're great big potted plants. Oh, you moved them. That's it, right there. Stand next to it, James. Stand next to the. That's the one that Rusty. And this. And James is our Carol Merrill. Look what you won. Okay, now for the short plant.
Oh, I want the little one.
652-280. 652-280. Nobody? No one's going to claim 652-280?
Got my number, Dick? Did anybody go home?
Somebody must have gone home who bought the tickets.
Celeste went home. They bought some.
What surprise I'll take for him.
Okay, we'll try again. 652-213. The winning table. There's a big winning table over there. Lots of food. Lots of food. You get the short? No.
We have two plants carried home in our car with other people now.
I have a big, oh yeah, I don't know what it is. This is a donation, I'm told. I got one more. Thank you, Ann. 652-319. 652-319.
That's real.
4, 5, 6, 7, 9. I got it.
You got it. 319. There you go. I have no idea what it is. I hope it doesn't explode. Let's see. And for those of you who have put money in the envelopes for the centerpieces, let's see. The number is 5. For those of you who have bought for the centerpiece, that's number 5, and I think we are going to be that's all of our business for this meeting. Draw some more? 5 wasn't drawn? Okay, then try 3. Keep going. One. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's your. This is Monrovia Nursery South is opening up at Rusty's house, apparently.
Give us a smile and a wave.
All right, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate your attendance and all those who worked hard to make this event come off.
How does things work out?
Thank you.
She wants to get me
You're a good guy. You want to give that to me, Emily? Huh? All right.
Fine, dear. Good to see you. Yeah, it is. I forgot this place is so great.
That's nice.
It is. Should have brought my overcoat.
I was. Yesterday, wasn't it? Previous Friday was in South Bay.
I'm okay with
Okay,
relationship,
sorry, I
but I want to say
do so many events tonight. I do which one is
$2.
Oh, you're right. It was good. Gary Miller did a very, very.
One time I went somewhere, you get it.
You're sweetie. You don't want to get behind winners. And you don't tell them feel like that you're not to get behind
Bye, Bob. It was really a nice party, and we're so glad that people finally recognized each other.
Are you gonna give this? Are you gonna make copies of this?
Yeah. Your dad, your grandfather's going to get one, and I will make another copy that your dad can have.
My dad really wants one.
I will definitely get a couple copies.
But you got it. Got it.
Right.
He's Whitmore.
Of course.
You gotta get one.
Well, of course. Well, you can explain that to the camera.
No.
No?
No.
You won't explain that you got to have a copy?
No.
No. Okay. So you don't want one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Wow, you made a great little talk. I didn't know
I know, it's kind of well, amazing.
I asked if he had a card in case you want to hire for some sort.
Yeah, he's taught himself from
Giselle,
I knows everything. My cards are here. Non-cultural
And they both can pass for about 60.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's because they're active.
Yeah.
And as active as they are.
Right. Right.
And I guess,
that's what keeps them young.
and good genes.
Yeah. Right. Well, bless their hearts.
Yep.
and a good sense of humor, like Whitmore the Younger.
Yeah, is that funny?
Whitmore the Younger. I'm not sure this shows up on whether the camera can focus this close.
Well, what the heck?
Well, I go say my good nights here.
Well, you know, the confusion continues. Which one do you want? Anytime anybody call.
Well, that's right.
Wow. Hello.
Oops, I'm on the camera again.
Well, after a while, it gets down to,
Don't edit you
gee,
out.
do you guys just have a lack of imagination when it comes to names?
My great-grandfather apparently did have a tremendous imagination because my dad's grandfather's name was Orange. Orange Scott Whitmore.
Yeah.
Thank God he decided to name his youngest Robert.
No, I don't need it. You don't need any more of me.
Then there's enough
Matthew.
Bob's. Enough Bob's.
Big grass spots on your paint.
So will we be able to get copies of this?